You spent 95 days in space.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's insane.
You know about the aliens too?
Ever seen anything weird in space?
Is there some sort of NASA protocol? I'm curious. Like the aliens land, in New York City tomorrow, and they're like, "All right, let me see your leader." Is there like some sort of protocol in place? Like, "All right, this is code red. This is what we're doing."
No, to clarify, the Earth is not flat. I've been around it. I flew around it, right?
Being in space and just watching the Earth from above for the first time, I imagine, insane.
Can you throw a spiral in space?
Easy.
Actually?
There are space
Oh,
lawyers?
yeah.
What?
So like the easiest way to fake it convincingly in 1969 is to fly to the moon and shoot it.
Sees it, feels it, Ross, inside the 10, down to the 5.
Toward the Harvard sideline, he's across the 30 to the 40.
He's able to fend off the defender and bring in the game's first touchdown.
Yeah, so what is that podcast called?
It's called like Momentum.
3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Momentum. We've got a special guest here, man.
Really excited.
We've got Garrett Reisman.
Yep.
I was just telling these guys, this is the most excited I've been to record a podcast.
Very
I think
excited.
this is what, 28, 29? Depends on when we record it or post it, rather. And man, just thank you so much for spending the time with us here.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. And you guys should get some better guests if this is the most excited you've been.
No.
Come on.
See, OJ and I are really excited, and like, just in terms of space, like we talk about this
all
stuff
the time at the house.
Conspiracy theories, parallel universes, simulation theory, aliens, all that stuff.
You know about the aliens too?
Yeah, we heard about them.
Exactly.
We're gonna get into all those.
I could tell how, as soon as I walked up and I saw you guys in the outfits, I knew this was going to be special.
We're gonna get into those questions, believe me.
No, I was first introduced to you with the Joe Rogan Podcast a few years ago.
Yeah,
that was really cool. You guys got into some really cool topics.
Yeah, we had a good time doing that. That was an interesting experience.
How was that? That was his old studio up in the valley, right?
That's right. Yeah, and it was this massive complex. You drive up on the outside and it looked like some kind of like warehouse or something, like an Amazon delivery center or something. And then you go on the inside and it was divided up into like different areas. He had this massive gym, which was the most impressive home gym I've ever seen.
Wow.
Just like probably like the quality like that you guys are used to.
Is there a living space? He just lives there.
He doesn't. No. It's just his man cave.
Yeah.
He doesn't live there.
That's so cool.
And he had a garage area, and he had these incredible vehicles. He had this. He had a classic Corvette that was spotless.
Oh my god.
He drove in a Range Rover, and then he had a 911, one of the rare models. It was just, and he had this Bronco that was completely redone with a turbocharged, fuel-injected engine.
Oh wow.
He had.
He's having a good time.
Impressive toys, yeah.
It's like every man's dream.
Yeah.
He's got
He's having a good time.
Like the cryotherapy, I believe he's got there. He does I
didn't see that, but
bow hunting.
He's got the archery.
Does he have a ring?
Yeah.
I know he likes the UFC. Ring.
Oh yeah, he does like the
Probably-
rolling
he probably,
sessions.
yeah.
And
There's
stuff.
no hexagon, no ring. Yeah, no. But he had a bar, which is
No.
pretty
What?
cool. Yeah.
There's a bar in there.
And a
yeah.
podcast and a gym.
Actually, and his security detail were all ex-special forces guys, all these SEALs and stuff. They were like,
Legit.
yeah, he had some real legit security. You didn't want to mess with those guys.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's get into it. So
Let's go.
you spent 95 days in space.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's insane.
So I heard you on the podcast. You were saying it's 1% bone loss per month in space, as far as like the previous methods of training that you guys had up there. How was it like when you got back in terms of like rehabbing and getting back to that? I guess it's a lot different, but my ACL and then my leg is very weak. So I'm just curious. I'm going through that similar process.
It's not altogether different, really. It's kind of similar from rehabbing from a sports injury.
Yeah.
And we did lose about 1% of our bone density per month in the old days, but we're better than that now. So we've gotten more effective countermeasures, which I can explain. It's basically resistive exercise, which is the countermeasure.
Uh-huh.
And we've gotten better at that. So now people are coming back without losing anything at all.
Wow.
So we've really kind of figured that one out.
Is that just in terms of bone density or muscle mass as well?
Both.
As I've heard, there's a big thing where when you go up to space, you lose all the muscle mass in your legs.
Yeah.
Because the gravity here pulls you down to the ground, right?
Well,
And you're used to working out every day.
it's really kind of the same thing will happen to you if you go on extended bed rest.
Uh-huh.
Right? So if you like just lie in bed for months, the same thing will happen.
Legs wear away.
It's not the lack of gravity. It's just the fact that you're not using your legs. Really don't do anything for you when you're up there because you're floating all the time. So he's like, you don't even walk up stairs. You don't even walk, right? I mean,
you're just using your hands, yeah.
Yeah, so your upper body does okay, but you lose a lot of muscle and bone from your hip and from your ankle, and basically your lower body is just along for the ride.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You get taller too, right?
Yeah. That's the whole reason.
Did you notice that?
Let's go.
That's the whole reason I signed up for the job.
Let's go.
Did you notice?
Oh yeah, I measured it. So I grew.
Really?
I grew an inch.
You grew an inch?
Yeah.
Whoa! And
go
it's
to
like it's
space.
permanent, like it stays like that.
No.
Oh, it goes back.
That was
As soon as
cruel.
you come home.
Yeah, I was all excited about that. So my wife is about pretty close, exactly the same height as me.
Yeah.
So within a few hours of landing, we went back to back, and I was right back. We were the same again.
Within a few hours? Is that quick?
I thought I had her. I thought I was going to tower over her.
How's it going?
Yeah. And then within a few hours, it was all gone.
All right, I'm interested in knowing. So could you tell us about your story? How does one get into becoming an astronaut? Like, did you grow up and you were like, yo, I know I want to go to space. I can't wait. The kids play with the spaceship in the hand or whatever.
Well, I was always into the space thing, and I watched all these movies of the Apollo missions, and I was really into the whole space exploration stuff. But I never thought it was going to happen to me when I was a kid, because I had this mom who's like scared of flying. And I don't mean like flying in like a F-16. I mean like flying on United. All right.
Doesn't like air transport.
No, she's scared. She's scared. And so the thought that she was going to let me like become a test pilot was like, it was not going to happen. Yeah. So, and at the time, like during Apollo, it was almost all test pilots. So it was much later, it was when I was an undergrad that when I was about your age, I realized that, hey, I saw some bios of the people that NASA just selected, and there were engineers in there and scientists and medical doctors. And I'm like, wow, I could do that. So maybe this is within the realm of possibility. And that changed everything. But before, if you asked me in high school what I was going to be, when I grew up, I would have said, I was always into the STEM fields. I would have said maybe engineer. I might have said physician, but I never would have said astronaut. No.
And then when you finished undergrad, you just was like, okay, sweet. I'm going to just go apply at NASA.
Yeah, I figured I'd give it a shot. Anyway,
you just applied? That's how you just turn in your resume?
Yeah, back in the old days, you actually filled out a form on paper.
What?
Yeah,
to become an astronaut, you fill a form out on paper?
Not anymore. Now it's all online. But back in the old days, it was it's the SF-171A form, which is the form, the standard form for federal employment.
Oh, wow.
So it's the same thing you fill out if you want to like work for the Postal Service. All right. It's just in block 9, instead of writing like postal carrier, you write astronaut. You just send it in, and that's that. And so I resolved at that moment, when I realized that it was possible, I resolved to at least apply. Because the only way it can never happen is if you don't apply. Right.
And so how long did it take to hear back?
Well, so I had to wait till I met the basic minimum criteria. I wasn't quite there yet. I needed at least a master's degree and 2 years related work experience. So I tried to convince them that having a master's degree and being a TA was like enough.
Yeah, what's the experience?
Yeah.
And they and to my surprise, I didn't get rejected immediately. Like I made it through the first like preliminary round, which was a big victory.
Big deal.
Yeah. So I didn't get an interview or anything, but at least I got that far. And then the next time I already had my PhD. I was done with my graduate studies, and I was kind of legit at that point. And then I got all the way down for an interview, and I got it, which still surprised the hell out of me.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
How does the training work? Because, I mean, you spent almost a decade right before you even go to space. I hear, like, in terms of how meticulous it is, you work the day of launch, like, the time you wake up, the breakfast you eat, like every little detail is already, like you've already done it so many times. And I mean, it's similar to athletics, right? Like we practice the same plays over and over again, so that once you get to game day, it's easy. And Coach Dante says it all the time, like practice should be harder than game day.
Right.
So I'd imagine something where, muscle memory, once you actually get to launch day, I've already done it 1,000 times.
Yeah, man, it's very similar. In fact, I was using a lot of sports analogies when I was giving. Today, I give a lecture in my Intro to Human Spaceflight class, all about training. and it's a lot like training for sports, and the importance of training and the learning curve effect and the muscle memory, things becoming automatic instead of things you have to focus on. And I was describing it to them as like, you know, my son in Little League, they teach him like to throw a ball. They teach him, okay, scarecrow, and they put his arms out like this, and then skateboard, and he turns sideways, and then throw, you know, and follow through. And he has to think about each of those steps. And then we see, like, you know, Aaron Judge throwing from right field. He doesn't think, you know, scarecrow, skateboard.
Right.
He just does it. It becomes automatic. And that's the same thing for, you know, so just like sports, it's the same thing for spaceflight, where you train over and over, and then operating the vehicle becomes automatic. And something you don't have to focus on, you could use those brain cells to do other things. But the closest thing to a sports analogy is doing a spacewalk. That's definitely, because that's by far and away the most physical aspect of the job. Yeah.
To train that, you guys do that underwater, correct?
Right.
Like all of the space simulation stuff is underwater. I'm guessing to simulate
Zero gravity.
no gravity. Yeah.
Well, you know, most of the stuff we do on the inside of the vehicle, you don't have to train in underwater, because it doesn't matter so much that you're floating. You just got to know like which switches to push and how to change the cartridges and you know, and actually a lot of the control of the space station is through a laptop. Mm-hmm. So you just sit at a desk and type on a laptop, and that's training for space station. But to do a spacewalk, it's not only mentally challenging, it's very physically challenging.
It's tough.
Oh, it's really tough.
I see. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Because I would have thought, okay, you zero gravity, you're not lugging around any weight, you're not holding on to anything.
No. Yeah, but so it's like the best way. So the problem is the suit.
It's a big,
because it fights you. It fights you at every step of the way. You know, because the suit is like it's inflated, it's pressurized, it's like a balloon, and it wants to stay just like this, like fully, like your Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloon. And so just to like flex your arms, or just every time you grab something with your hands, you're fighting that pressure, and over 7.5 hours, that can be really fatiguing. And especially in the forearms, like
say 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
To be on a spacewalk for.
Yeah,
That's so.
I know we
long.
got a picture of one of the suits up here.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Is that you?
That's you, yeah.
Me, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
So do you guys do a lot of forearm exercises?
Look at that. I'm practicing taking a selfie.
Actually? Oh.
How do you do anything in that thing?
It's
Because
hard.
the gloves are so big, and
The
you've got
glo-
like sausage fingers.
Gloves are big and bulky. You know, your range of motion is highly limited. So you can't like do this. You can't raise your shoulder, right? Yeah, and
just
so the highest you can lift your shoulder is like this. So if you kind of get into these very unnatural body positions, and you're constantly fighting against that suit. And in the beginning, you fight it. When you get good at it, you get used to working with the suit and not fighting it so much, right? And learning to live within its range of capabilities. But one way to describe it is like, and you're doing all these. You're out there doing basically mechanic work, right? You're connecting cables and tightening bolts. So it's the way I can describe it is kind of like doing an oil change in your car while wearing like a medieval suit of armor. So you can imagine like how fatiguing that would get.
that would be impossible.
And
So-
again, everything's with the arms. They call it spacewalk. It's a terrible name for it because you're not
Should be
walking.
a climb, really.
Right.
They call it space crawl or space climb, yeah. And so your arms get most fatigued, and especially right here in the forearms. Like so, it's like rock climbing when you get that like
Yeah.
that sensation of just being done in here. You get that.
Do they make you do a lot of form exercises?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to carry one of those little
Yeah.
donuts.
no,
You know,
we do that a lot for
things.
football.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a football, catching a football.
Mhm.
How about like hangs? Like the rock climbers.
Yeah,
Those two?
I did those a lot.
Yeah,
We had those in our gym. We had these two little things you put over the. We had a pretty sweet gym, by the way.
I was going to ask, is it like a special astronaut training facility that you're training at, or is it just like just a random building over at NASA?
Well, no, we have
Take your guys underground.
There's an astronaut gym, and it's one of the best things about the job is like, so they encourage you like working out that's work. You're on
Yeah,
the
it's
clock.
part
You're
of the
getting
job.
paid, which is it's like being a professional athlete,
It's a good deal.
but you don't have to really be that athletic.
It's a great
So
deal.
it's awesome. So yeah, we were going there, and we had an old facility that was like falling apart, and there's still like energy drinks that like some of the Gemini astronauts left in there. like the place was needed to be cleaned out desperately, and but it had a lot of character. But it was like when it rained, which it does sometimes in Houston, the place would leak like crazy, and they had buckets out there catching the water on the basketball court and stuff. So it was pretty bad. But then we got a new one. That's pretty sweet.
It's sick.
Yeah.
How
That would be hard.
Yeah,
Go on,
that'd be
how
so sick.
nerve-wracking?
Yeah, how nerve-wracking is the spacewalk itself? Because you could do all the preparation in the world, but I mean, being in space and just watching the Earth from above for the first time, I imagine, is insane. I mean, you're strapped up and everything, so like probably nothing bad would happen. But
Well,
I mean, I've seen movies.
Space debris is a big deal,
Yeah.
right? If you get hit by like
Really?
a grain of salt or whatever, going at however many miles an hour and it hits you, you're dead.
that's
yeah,
right.
what movie is that? Gravity.
Gravity,
Yeah,
good film.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about that film is they actually got the feel and the sensation of doing a spacewalk more accurately depicted in that film than any other attempt I've ever seen.
To say when you were watching it, oh yeah, I remember that.
It was kind of like that. It was like, oh yeah,
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. It was kind of. Yeah, I remember hanging out with George Clooney and yeah.
Sandra Bullock.
I remember Sandra Bullock in her underwear coming out of the suit. Yeah, it was just like that. Yeah.
Overall, what would you say is like the most accurate movie at depicting space in general, not just specifically
Well,
a spacewalk?
So first of all, not that one.
Not Gravity.
Because although they got the look and feel, the sensation doing a spacewalk right, and the visuals, and they used the 3D very effectively to help with that. Whereas usually it's just a gimmick, like, oh, look out, the axe is coming right at me, or you know. But that they actually did a good job using it to create a different world and environment and showing that. But there's tons of stuff in there where they completely blow off the laws of physics, and there's like really blatant
Errors.
Yeah. It's like there's one point Sandra Bullock is like holding on to Clooney, he's flying by, and she's like holding on to a tether, and she grabs him, and she's got him. But then he's like, you have to let me go. And I'm like, why do you have to let him go?
Yeah, what do you mean?
He's not falling.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have any weight. You did the hard thing, which was catching
To grab him in the first place.
Now all you have to do is go like this with your little
And
tiny
he'll come
finger,
towards you.
and he'll go back right to the airlock, and you go and have lunch, right? What's the big deal? And he's like, you have to let me go. And she's like, no. And my wife was like, you know, if no woman in her right mind, no matter what the circumstance, should
Let
ever
George
let
Clooney
go
go.
of George Clooney.
That's true.
So it was wrong on many different levels. But to answer your question, the most accurate one is there's a couple that are there. First of all, the Apollo 13 was really.
Oh yeah.
They took great pains to get that right. In fact, the dialogue was taken straight from like the logs.
Oh, the black box.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and all the stuff they did in there, they were really careful to get it just right. I'm working as a tech advisor now on a TV show called For All Mankind, which is
I've
Good
heard of
show.
that one.
Good show.
you
Great
watch
show.
that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Very good. It's like if the
That's like a
Russians
futuristic
like landed
society?
on the moon and stuff. And
Oh,
they're
really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yeah. It's an
Wow.
alternate history, like if the Russians got there first and what would have
It's really,
happened.
it's really good.
So what
You gotta watch
happens?
it. We can't ruin it for
Hey,
you.
come on, you gotta watch the show.
Can't ruin
Well,
it.
just
for you.
general gist.
Can't ruin it. But it's a cool thing. It's like what would happen if like the Russians got there and then the Americans landed.
And there's like a war after.
Well, right. Because at the time it was like Cold War.
Well,
Yeah.
basically,
the
like
enemies.
the space race continues.
Yeah.
It does like in
It doesn't
rea-
stop there.
With Apollo 11, that was kind of the end, and then we kind of scaled back, and the Russians scaled back, and so the premise is like it doesn't end there; it keeps going, and like we keep investing in it, we keep like at it full bore, and where would we be today if we would have done that? Is the fundamental question.
Well, we were just getting into that conspiracy,
It's
right?
like, oh, we got all those.
the moon landing, like, well, we were just thinking, I'm sure you have an explanation for it, but like why we haven't attempted another moon landing since 72. It just seems strange, and we were all talking about it. And
Did we
obviously
land there at all?
right, did we land there at all? Was it a movie set?
Is the Earth
was
flat?
the shadows?
You know what I love about working on this TV show where we do fake a moon landing on a soundstage in Hollywood. Okay.
This looks exactly like 1969.
What I love about it is no matter how hard we try, and by the way, we have technology now that is so much better. The stuff we can do with VFX.
Oh, than in the 60s.
I mean, it's incredible. Like we're filming out in Long Beach Airport, and it's supposed to be Houston in 1969. All right, and I'm like, there's this modern office building right in the shot. They're like, don't worry. I'm like, there's a palm tree.
we'll
We're
get
supposed to
rid
be
of
in
it.
Houston. They're like, and sure enough, if you watch the show, they get rid of it all. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
they can do so much after they're done shooting to fake whatever they need to fake, and they're great at it. And still, we screw it up, right? There's still stuff in there that some nerd, you know,
Didn't get
I
out.
don't mean to denigrate our fan base, but still, like, there's like that some nerd out there is like, hey, when they kicked up that moon dust, it didn't fall in a parabolic arc. In the absence of, it fell more steeply because there was air and it wasn't really in a vacuum. And I'm like, wow. First of all,
Guy's got no life. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's got to be something better to do with your time. But second of all, I mean, it just shows that even with all this technology and millions of dollars invested in production per episode, we still can't fake a moon landing. We can't do it, even today. So like,
it did happen. So
like the easiest way to fake it convincingly in 1969 is to fly to the moon and shoot it, because that's going to be cheaper and easier than trying to actually fake it.
Well, conspiracy theorists would say that they didn't do a good job because of like the shadows, and then the flag
bullshit.
was moving.
Nah, it's all bullshit.
No?
The flag.
The flag was moving.
And all that. Look. There's that somebody online actually debunked that pretty effectively, and you could go line by line, and they can explain everything. Like the flag was moving because there was a rod in there to hold it up. So it's not if the flag wouldn't flap around or it would just be kind of randomly folded if you just released it and or on the moon with 1/6 the gravity of Earth, it would just fall down. There's no wind to blow it, so it would just be a flag fall. You wouldn't even tell. You can tell what country it was, right? So they put a rod on there so it would stay out and so you could see it.
Yeah.
And when they planted it in there, that rod is like a spring, and when they twisted
continues vibrating.
yeah, it just continued vibrating. So it looked like it was flapping, but yeah, like all that stuff is totally explainable, and you could go online and find the real. I don't mean to be to rain on the conspiracy theory parade, but
fun.
To be honest with you, for a moment, and not to joke around a little less, I used to take it as a compliment actually.
Other people thought it was fake.
Yeah, and I remember being over in the UK.
Okay.
And we're going into the Houses of Parliament, and some crazy
Westminster.
guy.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic. Do you know there are bars and there are pubs in there?
Yeah.
In Parliament?
The politicians go there during lunch to go get their lunch. Yeah.
In between votes, they go get a pint.
That's so sick.
It's like, I'm like, this is the way it should be.
Oh,
This is
We need that in the White House.
I don't know if you have that in
Capitol
Congress.
building.
Yeah, there's not. It doesn't exist in
No,
Congress.
Congress doesn't have that. We're way too puritanical. You go in there and there's like these massive patios right on the Thames on that side of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So and there's there's not just one pub. There's like 5 or 6 in there.
A bunch.
And you go in there and they so each like of the different parties they have their favorite pub inside
On the North Bank.
and you just go out there and we're sitting out there having pints of beer and good beer too with these members of Parliament, and then the bell rings and they have to go vote, and like and they leave their pint right there, and then they come back, and they're like, oh, is that mine? Okay, yeah. So it was great. But anyway, as we're walking in there, some nut job came up and started ranting about that the moon landing was a hoax and blah blah blah, because he saw us in our NASA outfits.
Yeah.
And
That must be quite cool to walk around in, by the way.
Yeah, that's a
If
baller.
I could walk around in any outfit, it'd be
But
like
you
a NASA.
are. I mean,
I'm
literally,
not taking this
Not
off. I'm
legit,
keeping
though.
this on.
You could pull any chick wearing
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll get into that.
yeah, it doesn't really work. That's
Cap.
That's a whole nother story. Remind me to come back to that. But
Okay.
But so this guy came up, and back in that day, this is a long time ago, and I kind of took it as a compliment, because like landing on the moon was so incredibly difficult and technologically challenging
Like, no, there's no way that's real.
that there are people out there that were still having a hard time wrapping their heads around it, and I get that, and so okay, well, thank you for the compliment. We did something so hard that you're having a hard time comprehending it. But the problem is that this whole conspiracy theory thing has mutated into this really toxic thing in our society.
Yeah.
Now, so now we got conspiracy theories about everything. Now people are gathering in Dallas expecting JFK Jr. to show up from the dead.
I saw that.
And it's got and now people. And people think that like there's microchips in the vaccine and all this crap, right?
Yep.
And that is doing real harm.
Yeah.
Real harm in our society. It's causing people are dying because of that kind of crap. So I don't really look at these conspiracy theory things. I used to think it was kind of funny and something to be entertained about, but now I look at it as frankly evil.
What's the craziest one anyone's come to you with regarding space?
Oh, there's the flat earthers.
flat earth stuff,
I mean, some people say space isn't real in general.
Isn't real.
Yeah. My roommate just told me that one like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's all fake.
Well, like as a joke, obviously.
To clarify, the Earth is not flat.
Yeah, no, to clarify, the Earth is not flat. I've been around it.
Yeah.
I flew around it, right? I don't get that at all.
Ever seen anything weird in space?
Yeah, Steve Swanson. That guy is one of the other astronauts.
One of his mates.
Yeah, he's freaky, man. Yeah, you don't want to be alone in a tin can with that guy too long.
That's funny. Where are you on aliens and the Fermi paradox?
Fermi paradox. Well, okay. So first of all, as far to, I don't want to kickstart any more rumor or conspiracy theories, but as far as alien life, I do think that it is highly probable, extremely highly probable, that there are forms of life on other planets than Earth. And I think that within our lifetimes, there's a good chance we'll find it on Mars. And I don't mean like
why do you think
intelligent life, like
just any form of life?
Microbial.
Why do you think that on Mars?
Single cell.
Because of the presence of water?
It's because it's what's been. First of all, there's very tantalizing signs that we haven't found any direct evidence, but we keep finding hints that it probably exists. But the presence of water, the presence of certain chemical signatures in the soil, and other things that indicate that there's a high probability, and in fact, the fact that Mars once had a thicker atmosphere, more temperate, so the conditions were ripe, and that even today there's still liquid water in place underground, and even seeping to the surface at times, highly saline, so very high salt content, but that exists. So when you look at all that, and then the other thing is how incredibly tenacious life is here on Earth. We keep finding it in places where we think it can't exist. We drill miles below the Antarctic ice cap into these pristine lakes, liquid water lakes that are deep underground where there's no sunlight at all, and we find life. And where are the nutrients coming from? How is it living? You know, and then we find there is actually a way. Geothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean.
There's fish living near underwater volcanoes and stuff, right? Like right at the bottom of the.
Europa's the other one, right? Was it Jupiter's moon?
Oh, Europa.
Yeah. So that one also could potentially have a liquid ocean underneath.
That's the one with the big vents of water that fly out into the
yeah. That's a big one.
So we keep finding like life where we don't expect it to be able to happen on this planet. I think we'll find it on Mars, and then we're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Two just in the solar system.
Yeah, that's
right.
Right, and think of how many solar systems there are in the universe.
So,
and if there's many universes,
yeah, just the sheer numbers are overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is that we'll find it.
You personally haven't seen any signs yourself when visiting space,
like any kind of intelligent life or
anything at all?
No.
Is there some sort of NASA protocol? I'm curious. Like the aliens land, in New York City tomorrow, and they're like, "All right, let me see your leader." Is there like some sort of protocol in place? Like, all right, this is code red. This is what we're doing.
No, first of all, if there was any kind of protocol, it would probably be Department of Defense and not NASA. But no, I don't think. I think that's deemed such a unlikely event that nobody's got any contingency plans for it.
Is there any contingency in place for if you come into contact with anything?
We can't even handle a pandemic. How the heck are we going to handle a bunch of aliens coming down?
We would handle that very poorly.
Is there anything in place for if you come into contact with something when you're in space?
If you come into contact with something?
Yeah.
I mean, so there were protocols in place for Apollo, because one thing we didn't know was it potentially if there was some kind of life, that was somehow or something in the regolith that could be adverse to our health, and there was a fear that if we come back, they can bring that with them
in terms of some
kind of bacteria, maybe something that was something that could be activated from the soil,
and you can't bring it back to Earth.
So well they what they did was they put them into quarantine, just like we do for COVID, right? So they came back, and if you remember, like President Nixon was out there on the deck of the aircraft carrier, the Hornet, and he couldn't shake hands because they were inside like an Airstream trailer, right? And he's like waving at them through the little window, and they're like, "Hi, Mr. President," but they're like, it was kind of awkward, so they kept them in there for a while before, and they sent some docs in there with them, and they did a workup, and then they said, "Yeah, there's nothing going on," and they let them out.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Well, they kept doing that for a couple Apollo missions, right? It wasn't just like a one and done thing.
No. I don't know if they ever completely ended it, to be honest. I'm not sure. I I know for certain they did it on Apollo 11. I think they kept doing it. I don't know if they ever ended it or when, but yeah. But they didn't do it for shuttle. I went out to the bar the night I came back.
Straight out.
On both missions.
That same night?
The same night we came back. And the first time was after my long duration mission.
Okay.
And I had to convince them that I was okay to do this.
To go out and do.
Convince who? NASA?
I had to convince the flight surgeons in NASA to let me, because normally.
Oh, really?
So look, so here's what you're asking. I'm circling back to the question I never answered.
Yep.
There we go.
Women.
What?
Being an astronaut.
Oh no, that's another one. But no, I'm circling back to the how do you recover? What's it like?
Okay,
And so when usually when you come back, there's a lot of things that your body is kind of all messed up. So your vestibular system is all messed up because your inner ear that we all rely on for balance, and so your otolith organs and your semicircular canals, those don't work at all without gravity. They send garbage signals to the brain. Vision is still fine, but the brain now, so this inner ear is saying you're spinning this way, that guy says I'm spinning this way, your vision says you're not spinning at all. The brain gets very confused, which
Makes you feel sick?
Yeah, you feel sick. You get like motion sickness for the first day or two. And then your brain sorts it out and like turns these things off. But then when you come home, you need those again, like to walk in gravity. And your brain is like, I'm not trusting those things anymore. And so now you're all messed up because you're walking around like a drunken sailor.
You have no balance, yeah.
You have no balance. And so the rehab, when you first come back, there's a lot of, we do like ladder exercises and do the icky shuffle through the ladder.
Oh, let's go, yeah.
All those agility drills, we do all that. Medicine balls, they'll throw a medicine ball at you, catch it and throw it back. Standing on the, the Bosu ball, the thing? Yeah.
That's funny. I had a bad concussion when I played at Vanderbilt, and I messed up my intervestibular. Same thing.
Oh, wow.
So we had to do a bunch of exercises just for that, just getting the balance sorted out. I think, like you look at, what do you call it? Like a bullseye, and you have to like keep your eyes. It was like a whole like litany of tests just for the vestibular and balance and all that. So I'm sure it's similar to.
They're seeing if your eyes track while your head moves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because your vestibular system is responsible for basically providing the image stabilization, right? So as you're staring at something, as your head moves, without those organs working, that tracking doesn't work so well, and it's a problem for pilots of the space shuttle coming back because they got to land. And they got to track the runway. They got to look out the window, and they're turning their heads, and they train to like try to keep their heads straight and not swivel too much because it can have that effect. So.
What is it like coming back from space, like a landing sequence, that type of thing? Because you re-enter at a very fast speed, if that's correct, right?
Yeah.
Like you're moving.
Yeah, you're hauling.
You look out the window and see the whole United States.
and actually, as you're coming down, you actually speed up. Because it's a weird, so you do the deorbit burn, and so you're in a circular orbit around the Earth, and the reason that you're stable and staying there is that the speed at which you're traveling is just enough so the centrifugal force perfectly balances the force of gravity. So it's kind of like a kid's model airplane on a string that's spinning around like this. If you cut the string, the airplane would just fly off, right? But instead of a string with tension in it, it's the force of gravity that's doing the same thing and forcing you to move in a circle. So that's what. So all you have to do to come home is slow down a little bit, and then once you slow down a little bit, then gravity wins, and you start coming back down. But the weird thing is, once you slow down a little bit, but then you speed up because what's happening is you've changed your circular orbit to an elliptical orbit. With a perigee, the low part of the orbit that is inside the atmosphere, and as you dive down towards that perigee, you speed up, just like a marble circling a drain that's not in a circle, but as it gets closer to the drain, it speeds up and then it slingshots out, and then it speeds up and slingshots. It's just like that. So as you slow down, but then you speed up, and that's actually when you hit your highest velocity. You get up to Mach 25 times the speed of sound, and also. You're lower as well as faster. So when you look out the window, the sensation of speed is much greater than when you're
up high.
When you're up high, you're doing a spacewalk. You look down, you see Seattle, and then like 10 minutes later, you look down and like, oh, there's New York. But you don't get that same sensation of speed when you're low and even faster. and you look out the window, it's just flying by. Like the ground is just speeding on by, and it's a whole different sensation.
I've heard it's weird as well when you start the coming back from orbit. There's no sound either, but then it becomes incredibly loud when you hit the atmosphere because you hit all the air. At least that's what the guy Felix Baumgartner found out.
Oh
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
jumped up.
But he was outside.
This is true. He didn't have a nice spaceship to come down in.
If you have a nice space shuttle,
Is it quiet in there?
it's
Because I think when you're in an airplane, that's even reasonably loud.
It's noisy.
yeah, it's not that you hear the engines when you're inside. What you hear is all the machinery. So like you have fans blowing air through your suit. You got pumps and stuff, and all the stuff. Just it's like a lot of white noise. It's like a loud air conditioning system.
Is takeoff the opposite of that? Can you hear all the engines?
Oh, takeoff is it's real loud. And,
What's that like?
And it shakes. The shaking and the noise. It's not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've been on a motion simulator ride, it's kind of like that. But the G forces you feel are
They're
different.
insane.
Yeah, it gets up to about 3 Gs.
But just straight up.
And straight up, and it stays there. The weird thing about when we fly like in T-38s and we're practicing, we're pulling Gs in aerobatic airplanes. We'll pull a lot more in 3. We can pull 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
But just for a few seconds, right? You
3
do a loop,
is-
you pull back,
yeah.
you do a loop, and as you come over the top, you're pushing the stick forward. You're letting that G go, so it only lasts a couple seconds. But when you're filling the 3 Gs in the shuttle, it goes on for minutes.
Wow.
And that's what's really weird about it, the fact that it keeps going. Because you're not doing it from turning or pulling, you're doing it from the thrust of the engines. That's what's causing it.
Going back to that bar scene, I'm curious. That night you come back, so you're ordering a drink, and like, are girls just coming up to you, and you're like,
Oh, hey,
yeah, I'm an astronaut, and they're like, yeah, right. And you're like, yeah, I literally just got back 95 days.
I
Well,
just got back from space.
Yeah, I just got back from
Yeah,
space.
it's nothing.
first of all, and that I think there were a few people that came in and mixed in, but for the most part, it was our group. So we had a pretty big group, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like our own private little party, even though we were in a bar right there in Cape Canaveral called Fish Lips. By the way,
Even then, you should be the man on campus, right? You're the astronaut.
That's true.
Yeah, but you know, I'm married, man. I got.
Were you married at the time?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know you were married at the time.
I was. But the one cool thing about that night was I had Joe Torre's World Series ring.
What? How'd you get that?
He gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
And from the year 2000, because we flew in 2010. And so he gave me his ring from the World Series 2000 because it was a 10-year anniversary.
Take it to space.
Yeah.
Wow, how cool is that?
And so I'm wearing that thing in the bar. So that got me a lot more attention than being an astronaut. I was like, oh, I
Got a World Series ring?
You have a
Because you've seen those, right? They're huge.
Yeah, they're massive.
On my hand, it was like ridiculously
Yeah.
massive. And
play.
so flashing that thing actually got me a lot more attention than the whole astronaut thing.
Big play.
But so the story I was going to tell you while we're on the topic, I was once with a buddy of mine from undergrad college, and we were hanging out in a bar in Alexandria, Virginia. And we're just having a couple beers, sitting up at the bar, just the two of us, in my younger days, before I was married. And two lovely ladies came up.
Oh, go crazy.
And this guy I went to college with, he went on, he went to law school. He then worked for a New York law firm. Then he worked for the SEC, and then he changed completely, and he got a job with the FBI.
Oh wow.
So these ladies come up, and they're like, they start saying hello, you know, and we're sitting there because my buddy, he's a good-looking guy. It wasn't me. It was him.
You're being too modest.
Come on, I had more hair back
You're
then, but
giving
still.
him too much credit, I think.
Anyway, they came up and they were talking, and so after a little small talk, they said, "Oh, so what do you do?" And my buddy says, "Well, I'm a special agent with the FBI." And they were like,
Wow.
"Yeah, I've heard this one before." Yeah,
He's an astronaut, yeah.
yeah, that's where this is going, right? And then they said, "Yeah, right. So, what's your friend do?" And I was like, "Well,"
He's an astronaut, yeah.
and so they looked at us and they said, "F you," and they turned around and turned their backs and left, and we're just
tough.
laughing.
That seems about right. Now I think about it.
Yeah, nobody believes it.
That's ridiculous. I wouldn't believe it.
I would not
I'd be
believe
like,
that.
It's obviously a joke.
Because there's only 500 people that's ever been up space. So like,
Yeah,
you know, what are
it
the
is
odds?
pretty unlikely.
Would you ever go back?
Yeah, but I got kids now, right? So
Would you take him with you?
Yeah, if the circumstance was correct. So I did an event. I was wearing my NASA flight jacket, kind of like you guys right now.
Hey.
And I was looking all cool. And I came home. This is when my son was like 5 or so, and he sees me come and goes, "Dad, did you just come back from space? And I said, no.
Just grabbing milk.
I was just giving a talk, you know. and he's like, and I said, besides, you know, if I go again, it will go as a Virgin. You know, we'll do this together.
That might be a thing in the near future, right?
Maybe
like what
Mars.
SpaceX are doing.
Yeah.
Blue Origin, Virgin.
Yeah.
Virgin Galactic.
Well, what's next for SpaceX? You're still working with them, right?
Oh, but by the way, I did tell my son. My son said so. He says,
Was that it?
Whoa.
Is that a first pitch?
No, that's not a first pitch. That is me pretending I'm Derek Jeter at shortstop at the time it was Minute Maid Park
You got the technique.
in Houston.
It looks good.
Yeah, you like it?
I like
Did you play baseball?
Little League.
Little League?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a wrestler in high school and college.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, he turns to me. He goes, "Well, but Dad, I don't have a blue jacket." And so I said, "Don't worry,
That's so cute.
don't worry. Well, we go to gift shop. We'll get you one.
We'll get you on.
We can fix that."
I love that.
Yeah.
Mo touched on it. Once you were done with NASA, you moved over to SpaceX,
Yeah.
which is cool. Now you're with Big Elon.
Mm-hmm.
The man's a legend. Like, I was just telling my friend, I think he's the most influential person alive and probably in the last, century.
Well, people are still trying to figure him out. But what's going on with SpaceX, a lot of people think that he's
I'm still trying to figure out. I used to have a Monday meeting with him every week, and
Really?
yeah, he was my boss, and I still can't quite figure him out.
You gotta tell us, like, how is he, like, as a person? Because some people think he's, like, weird or socially awkward. Obviously, he has his quirks.
Yeah.
Genius, of course, but
He is super smart. Technically, the thing that impresses me is not so much his depth in any one subject. The impressive thing about him is the massive breadth. Yeah, the number of subjects that he can talk about at an extremely competent high level. Like we'll have meetings and he'll have an esoteric discussion about with material scientists about some crazy technique for welding some really rare alloys, and then he'll turn around and have a conversation about exactly what the processing architecture should be in the electronics, and he'll go back and forth and at that level of competence. And I've never seen anybody I've seen people who are incredibly intelligent in their field. Never seen anybody that can go back and forth like that.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
There's Neuralink, there's the brain, which is like one of the most complicated subjects.
Tesla, which obviously makes
Infrastructure with Boring Company.
Yep. Hyperloop.
Cars, yeah. It's freaking insane.
A lot of people think Tesla is just really a battery company for storing energy,
But still.
electric, rather than cars. Because some people think with SpaceX, the whole idea is that he's just going to go and mine stuff in space, right?
Now, so what drives him? This I can answer. So this I have figured out. What really drives him is achieving this goal of making human life multiplanetary. He's serious about that, and he tweets about it, and people think he's kidding.
Yeah.
He's not kidding. So I'll tell you a story that kind of illustrates the way he thinks. So when I first showed up there at SpaceX, it was in the early days, and 60 Minutes came in to do a piece on it, and I was brand new, so they trotted me out. So I was interviewed by Scott Pelley, and Elon was interviewed. And in my interview, I said, they asked me, why did I stop being an astronaut, give up like this really awesome gig where you get paid to go to the gym, to work here where you don't get paid to go to the gym, and come to SpaceX. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was
Three amigos
Is that
right
the
there.
early days?
That was a very early days.
Looks like young Elon.
Yeah, that was probably like 2012, I'm guessing.
Looks like it was taken 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So anyway, so he asked me why did I do that, and I said, well, if you're a young engineer and you had the opportunity to go work with Howard Hughes back in the day,
You do it.
wouldn't you do it? And Scott Pelley looked at me like a deer in the headlights. I don't think he understood what that was like at the time. Yeah. But that's what my answer. And then as soon as I said that, I was like, oh man, I just made like a major error.
No.
Because things didn't end that well for Howard,
What happened to him?
Oh, he was like a complete nut job in
Was he
the
really?
end of his life. Yeah, he was a germaphobe and just a hermit, and like he grew his fingernails are like this long, and like,
So you compared
was
Elon
peeing
to this guy?
in jars, and yeah, and because I was thinking about Howard in at the height of his career when he created TWA Airlines, and he built the Spruce Goose and the H-1 and all these incredible airplanes, and he did some really amazing things. And he built up this massive industry as well. So I was like, oh, great. I just compared him to that. So then it took a while. It was like months later. We were at Florida for meetings with NASA about trying to get this commercial crew contract. And my job was to lead the proposal team. And Elon came and he helped us present our case to try to get this like $2.4 billion contract. Okay. And so we left the meeting and we're driving back to the airport to get into his jet to fly back here to LA.
Good deal.
And it's just me and him in the car. I'm driving this rental car and I got him sitting in the passenger seat. And so I said, hey, I figured this could be a good time to bring it up, right? Because it's kind of private. So I said, hey, boss, just remember that time we did that thing for 60 minutes? Ha, ha, ha. And you remember I compared you to Howard Hughes? I just want you to know I was comparing you to the young, dashing, starlet dating aviator Howard Hughes, not the old, decrepit, peeing in jars, germaphobe Howard Hughes. Ha ha ha, hoping he would laugh. And he's just silent,
Oh,
pain. And what he'll do, when you ask a question, he, no matter how ridiculous, or even if you intended it as a joke like I did, he will actually give it careful consideration. He'll focus on it. And he stared out like I remember staring like forward through the windshield of the car, looking off into space basically, with this blank look on his face. I knew he was thinking about it. I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
Yeah. So after a few minutes of that, he turns to me and he says, I don't think that's an apt comparison. So I said, okay.
Like just straight face.
That was a cool, that was a cool ride back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, just curious why.
He said nothing in between you saying that and that? That's the first thing he said back to you?
Yes.
That's weird.
So so I had to ask why.
Yeah.
I needed a follow-up there. So I said, I'm just curious, why is that? And he said, well, nothing that Howard ever did fundamentally changed the course of human history in the sense that he built this H-1 racer, and yes, it was kind of used by Japan as a model for the Zero aircraft in World War II, but it never really, it was a one-off. It was a racer. It wasn't something that was mass-produced. He said, we don't send our cargo across the Atlantic Ocean today in giant wooden airplanes like the Spruce Goose. It never fundamentally caught on. So his objection was not about like the fact that I was comparing him to this creepy old geezer.
It's that he didn't change humanity, and Elon thinks that he is going to do exactly that.
He's already done it.
That if he doesn't have, something, he thinks that if he can be the one that enables us to become a multiplanetary species, then he's fundamentally altered the arc of human history, and that's what he wants to do. And that's why it's important to him. It's not about making money or building yachts or anything like that. That's just a means to the end.
Do you think he'll do it?
Yeah, I think he's got a good shot, actually. Yeah, I think a lot is riding on Starship and how it does, and if it's successful. But he certainly is doing everything he can to make that our future.
Would you go if it was in our lifetime?
To Mars?
To Mars?
Yeah. Elon thinks in our lifetime people are going to be shooting off to Mars.
I mean, what's the process, right? Because first you have to send a few people, and then how do you start colonizing? Do you guys talk about
give birth to the first Martian, right?
I talked to him about that. That was interesting. So the way he's very good at what he calls a first principles approach of thinking, where he will step back and not try to just compare it to what's been done before, but think about it from what is possible by the laws of physics standpoint, right? And so the way he thought about that was, initially it's going to be a small group. The first goes, and more, and the idea is to get more and more people committed to living up there and staying, and because the thought is that in order, what the ultimate objective is not just to plant a flag, leave some footprints, and skedaddle.
To colonize, right?
Right, and not only colonize, but have a self-sustaining colony, right? So if one day the ships from Earth stop coming,
whatever, they're
going to be okay. Right, because that's the whole point is it's about survival of the species, getting redundancy, because there's been a certain number of extinction events in the Earth's history. There's bound to be another one. We don't know when that's going to happen.
It will happen at some point.
Yeah. So he thinks about this okay, so how many people do you need So say, okay, well, how big of a city do you need, such that everything you need, not everything you might want, but everything you need, is there. You know, that you don't have to go to the big city for anything. So you need like a hospital with oncologists and
Dentists
and orthopedists. You need infrastructure. You need you need an electrical power system that can support a whole city. You need that, and you need people that maintain it. You need pizza. Because you need pizza.
Yeah.
You need, if you think about all those things that you need and really drill down, you need some kind of police force. You need all these things. Yeah. So, you figure, well, okay, if you live in a small town, you don't have all that stuff. But if you live in a town of a couple 100,000 people, okay, maybe you have a minor league baseball team. You don't have, the Dodgers, but you at least have some sports to watch. You got something that you don't have to go to the big city to see a professional sporting event. A couple 100,000 people probably.
Wow.
So he figures, okay, that's how many we need to have up there before they can really be self-sustaining.
What's his timeline? You think,
Wants it in our
100
lifetime.
years, 200 years?
Before he dies, he wants to see it.
No, he'll admit that he doesn't think we'll get there in his lifetime.
He doesn't?
No, because this is to get to that point where you have hundreds of thousands of people up there. It's going to take more than his lifetime. Yeah. He admits that.
He wants to put people on Mars within his lifetime.
He
2030, right?
He wants to see us on a trajectory towards that day.
Okay.
So that we're on that path, and that he won't live to see the end, but that we got a couple hundred up there and it's growing, and we're headed towards a lot more.
Ooh. You should be the leader of Mars. That'd be cool.
I was gonna say, yeah. Could you become the
What
president?
if he was like, Gary, we want you to spearhead this, and just rule Mars, and then you run the whole thing.
I was thinking, like, if you send people to Mars and you leave them there, like, who's the jurisdiction? What laws do you follow? You follow American law because you're Americans that got sent there?
Isn't it like
What about the British?
maritime law in space?
In right now on space station stuff, yeah, it's kind of like based on maritime law. There is a.
But you're in the Earth's orbit. What about when you go to Mars?
It still, I think, would be kind of the same unless it's claimed by a certain country.
Right.
But if it's claimed by a corporation, then
right.
And I spoke to him about that too. His basic feeling on that was he wants it as close to a direct democracy, one person, one vote, as possible.
Okay.
So kind of like the ancient Greek idea of democracy, as opposed to our representative.
If he
democracy.
sent people to Mars, though, would it become like a municipality, or would it become just people that are there for SpaceX? We work for SpaceX almost like employees. Because what if you find something in the ground that's very valuable?
No, I think the way he looks at it is he wants to be the transportation provider. So he's kind of looks at SpaceX as kind of like the Dutch East Indies company, and somebody else is gonna do this settlement.
Okay.
Like William
He's just
Penn
the guy
or whatever.
taking people to and forth.
That's
okay.
interesting.
He provides the crew and the cargo, and he gets you there. But then once you're there, you're kind of on your own. You do your thing.
That's you.
Yeah, and somebody else builds the city. Comes up with the governance structure or whatever.
So isn't there like some law agreed upon by the UN or whatever that no country can claim anything in space as their
own?
Yeah, isn't it like everyone shares everything up in space? Does that not apply to individual corporations and people, or is that just for nations? Am I completely off?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is some kind of an international treaty, but I think it does only apply to government. So there's this gray area, is my understanding. Yeah, but I'm not a space lawyer. And there are space lawyers.
There are space lawyers?
Yeah.
What?
Does SpaceX have any space lawyers in their employment?
Yes.
Whoa.
They mostly deal with terrestrial things, but we have a big legal staff that does deal with space law as well. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get philosophical in the like simulation theory and stuff?
In the what?
Simulation theory.
Oh,
Elon's big.
like, are we part of a big? I haven't talked to him about it. So the thing about Elon is he will talk to you about what we're trying to do,
and nothing else.
and he rarely just sits there and goes off on a tangent because he's focused. Like he's incredibly busy, right? So he's only got so much time to talk to you. So he's going to talk to you about what he needs to talk to you about, and not just say like, "Hey, did you catch that? Latest episode
you catch the Lakers game?
Succession?" Or yeah. He doesn't do that. Like, oh, that White Lotus was really good. Yeah,
That was good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. No, don't.
No spoilers.
So anyway, yeah, you don't really get that with him, but you focus on the business in hand. So no, I haven't had really that kind of chat with him.
That's awesome.
He must chat about that with other people, but not
Somebody.
Yeah, I think he said him and his brother Kimball, they had that rule, the hot tub rule, where they can only talk about that outside of the hot tub, just because it comes up so frequently in conversations. But like they've assigned the hot tub as like, all right, we're gonna relax, and just like those topics are off subject. I guess because like it just takes so long to like get through it, and they end up talking about it for like hours or whatever.
Yeah, I've never been invited to the hot tub.
To the hot tub?
No, not yet.
No.
Which, frankly, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough. What's next, like in the immediate future with SpaceX? What are you guys working on now?
I cannot disclose that information.
No, there's like launches and stuff.
Of course there is.
There's tons of stuff. So the
Starship
next thing
is cool.
is launching Crew 3 in tomorrow. I think it's supposed to happen tomorrow night.
Oh, good luck.
So the next crew launch up to the space station on
Okay.
Dragon. We just brought Crew 2 home when that happened? Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. So no, I'm sorry. That was last night. What am I talking about? It just happened last night. Everything's kind of blending together. Just last night we brought one crew back. We're sending another crew up. But the big future of SpaceX is really all tied up in Boca Chica, Texas, where they're working on Starship. That's where all the effort is really going. That's the future of the company.
Does SpaceX have any links to Starlink? I know it's where he's
it's completely owned by SpaceX.
I thought so.
Yeah.
He's trying to create like a huge satellite network. Is it 1,000 satellites?
Thousands. Yeah.
Thousands of
Oh,
satellites.
that's the internet. That's the Wi-Fi thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
space-based internet. Yeah, broadband from space. Yeah.
This guy does everything.
Imagine 5G and just take it and just make it like 1,000G. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it won't. It's not that much faster. There's a little less latency, but as far as the bandwidth, it's not much better than what you can get. But where it really helps is in rural areas and distant. Yeah, because you can get basically you can get like high speed internet in the Sahara Desert once this thing is up.
Yeah, and like
Or
sub-Saharan Africa.
Anyway,
Like a lot of those areas.
Like the Marshall Islands,
Developing countries, yeah.
these
it's
places.
going to be the largest cellular provider on the earth,
Yeah.
effectively.
Interesting.
Put T-Mobile out of business.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you got anything else?
No, that was
amazing.
We haven't even talked about football.
Are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you a
SC fan?
USC football fan?
Of course, I got. Yeah.
Let's go.
Come on.
Okay.
Let's go. But
What do you think about this season?
Oh, don't ask.
What did you hear the news today?
I heard the news says no. You
Yeah.
guys got a free weekend.
Exactly.
Find
Well,
out
we
tomorrow.
actually, yeah. Dude, it was crazy. So we had like our position meetings before practice, and then no one knew, like the coaches,
one
nobody.
had any idea.
They're like our emergency team meeting, like in the middle of our position meeting. So everyone, congregates into our big team meeting room. Coach Dante comes out, tells us the news, and we kind of like had a good
a few people were
idea.
guessing. A
Yeah.
few people because we've seen some stuff on Twitter.
Oh, I saw some stuff going on.
Yeah,
They had
because
some
I think
cases
last
or-
week they had a lot of cases, and crazy. So they're gonna reschedule the game now to
December 4th.
Yeah, December 4th.
Yeah. So I thought, don't they have to forfeit, or they get to reschedule?
that's what we thought.
Well, Dante came out and said in the interviews after practice that he didn't want to accept the forfeit because that's not our mentality. It's like our mentality.
I
is
like
fight on
interesting.
and like
I like that.
win
I like
fairly.
that.
That's not how we want to go bowling.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So have you always been a USC fan, or just since you've started working here?
So look, this is all new to me. I'm just thrilled to be at a school where we have a good program because like you have to understand. Like I went undergrad. I went to University of Pennsylvania,
Okay.
where we're the Quakers, right? We're the fighting Quakers. I mean, it's pretty hard to instill fear into the heart of the opponent when you're
It's your Penn Quake. No, we've
Although one of my best
roommates,
friends played at Penn, and then he transferred to Vanderbilt where I played. So I lived with him.
Our
And now
roommates,
he's here?
our roommates last year were at Penn.
Yeah.
How about that?
Penn.
He won an Ivy League championship out
Yeah.
there, actually.
All right.
Big Quakers.
But
there.
it's not
But it's
divisional.
different.
It's
You guys
totally
have a cool
different.
stadium. You might have the best stadium.
The
in
Franklin Field is fantastic.
Yeah, you might have the best stadium in the Ivy League.
I used to love going down there.
Did you ever play any football?
I played for my fraternity intramural. I was
okay.
Big deal.
Like flag?
flag football.
What position did you play?
We all played everywhere. So
You played
believe it or not, I played
any QB?
I played offensive line sometimes.
let's go.
Really?
Try to,
Did you
The
take
thing was, we were the wrestling house, right? So it was all. So it's not like we had these like big, huge guys that put on the O line. We had to deal with the wrestlers we
Your
had.
guys' power to weight ratio though was probably ridiculous.
Power to weight was pretty good. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Did you take a football with you in a space?
I did, and so
Can you throw a spiral in space?
Easy. So
Really?
easy. I should show
The
you.
perfect spiral. You think about it, the ball just go like this.
I should have brought a film of this, and maybe I can get it to you. So we flew in. My first mission was in 08, which was right out. So I grew up in Jersey. So NFL, I'm a big Giants fan.
Okay.
Okay. So 08 was right after the first time the Giants beat Brady.
The David Tyree catch.
Yeah.
Tyree.
Yeah.
So I reenacted the Tyree catch in space.
No, you did not.
You have a video of this?
So I played Eli, and I got one of the cosmonauts played. I forgot the name of who was the pass rusher that was in his face. I forgot who that was, but anyway, he played that guy, and he's like coming up, and I let go like right as I'm being taken down, and then the ball goes because you can throw in slow motion, because you can just like
Of course you can.
like this.
Oh, so you can get
The
that
ball
like
was-
that index finger. There you go.
You get
But I'm getting the ball doesn't come down; it just goes in a straight line,
it just
right?
goes in a straight line.
Oh, look at it right there.
Yeah. So we reenacted the whole thing.
Wow. That's cool.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, you got to come out to a game
Football in
sometime.
space.
Have you
Oh,
been
I'd love to. I've been to a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, with my son, but he was mostly more interested in getting the shaved ice out in,
Yeah.
That's funny.
in the courtyard. That was his highlight. But I love watching the game. It's great.
How are the Giants doing this year?
They're all right. You're banged up. You're Giants.
Saquon's been out, right?
Yeah, he's been
Saquon's
out.
out. Jabril Peppers is hurt. Daniel Jones is
Who's I'm forgetting the wide receiver.
Sterling Shepard.
Nah, new guy that they got.
Galladay.
Galladay. Yeah,
Kenny
he's been
Galladay.
out. He's
Yeah,
been
he's
injured.
hurt.
So
Yeah.
it's been a rough year. But
Kadarius Toney's hurt now as well.
yeah. But they'll hopefully they'll.
Is
turn it
Daniel
around.
Jones the guy?
I think so. What do you think? You know better than I do.
Yeah, you're a QB, Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, coming out, honestly, I was very skeptical. They got, I think, Gettleman, right? He's the GM. He got a lot of flack for that draft pick. I think they passed up on some dudes in that class too, right? There's some other dudes. He's the type of guy you can win a Super Bowl with a really good roster around, but he's not going to win you games on his own.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a really good defense, offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to construct your roster. There's only a few guys though. There's maybe like 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league that, regardless of their surrounding, supporting cast, they're going to make the playoffs, right? It's Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, although he's not playing well this year, Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Who else? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, of course. Those are the guys you're trying to hit on first round.
Yeah, and I get it. Jones probably is not quite that caliber, but hey, at least he's vaccinated.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he could play.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully they'll turn things around. I especially if they get a good cast around him. I think they have a shot. When he they did that reverse where he got that first down and took a pretty major
The concussion?
hit.
That looked bad.
The concussion was like 2 weeks prior. So I don't know what they're doing after that concussion, sending him out there, and putting him in that position. But nonetheless, he showed a lot of guts doing that.
A
So
lot of determination.
So I that was impressive.
Sounds good. So, all right, you were telling me about your podcast as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I got a podcast too, because
as you do.
I think I was the last guy in LA that didn't have a
Everyone's
podcast.
got a podcast. Yeah.
So I got one now. It's called Two Funny Astronauts. Half of the podcast.
Off the show.
My buddy is Mike Massimino, who's another former astronaut that flew up to the Hubble a couple times, and he's a professor at Columbia actually. So we have a lot of rivalries. He went to Hubble, I went to Space Station. He went to MIT, I went to Caltech, and I'm at SC, and he's Columbia. So now we got a lot to argue about, but we have a lot of fun, and it's really, we have a good time. It's really a comedy podcast that also has a little bit to do with space.
Where can we watch it?
What's that?
Where can we watch it? Is it on
You
Spotify?
can watch it on all the. There it is. You can watch it on all the usual places. So we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean. Also on YouTube, we have the video.
Fantastic.
We both based on our looks, we're better off listening and not watching, but got good faces for radio. But
How's that been so far? Are you enjoying it?
yeah, the podcasting, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good because you just it's just
yeah,
like
you're hanging out with your friends. It's so much
chilling,
fun.
yeah, kicking it.
It's like you two. I mean, I can see you guys have a lot of fun doing
we
this.
kick it.
I like how you guys have a laid back atmosphere. You
That
guys
looks
are just
good.
yeah. What do you guys talk about? Just like it's like space, but like in a funny context.
Actually, our last 3 episodes were all about baseball.
Oh no way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because
awesome.
with October, we figured it'd be a good time.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
World Series.
Yeah.
Wow. And you guys have guests on, or is it just you two always?
We have guests. We had Bill Nye, the science guy, came on.
What?
Oh,
We had
no way.
other former astronauts have been on. And we definitely want to increase the number of guests going forward. So
Yeah.
That's insane.
I gotta check it out. Awesome.
Does it have a social media account or anything like that?
It
Anything on
does,
Instagram?
although really mostly we post the stuff on our individual social media accounts. So
Makes sense. I'll tell the viewers at home where they can find you.
thank you. It's my Twitter and Instagram handles are. This is embarrassing, but it's astro_G_dog. That's a kind. Like, I
like it.
G-dog.
No, look, I love it.
Look, I set up the Twitter account when Twitter was first a thing.
I love it.
And we thought, this will never amount to anything. I'll make up some ridiculous.
G-dog.
So it was like a nickname that my family gave me. So I'll just use that.
G-Dog.
G-dog.
Yeah, like that'll never come back.
That's
to
a great
haunt me.
nickname.
I love that. G-Dog.
That's a great nickname.
What up, G-Dog? I love that.
With 2 G's.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So astro_G_dog on Twitter and Instagram and
I'm following that.
Facebook I'm on there and whatnot. And you also just see all this, but you can go to www.garrettreisman.com and you can find links to all this stuff, including movie reviews where I talk about Gravity and 2001.
People love that stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson does that all the time. Yeah.
Interstellar.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. I've heard a lot.
That was really cool.
Honestly, yeah. It's been
Oh,
one
my
of
pleasure. It
favorite
was
times.
fun. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Look, you want to come anytime. You want to come over to the house
time
and football?
I'll bring my outfit.
Please.
Let's do it. Let's
You want
do
to
it.
come over in your please?
And,
do.
and please come to a game. I think we got BYU
We've got
and
BYU,
UCLA, are
UCLA,
home.
and Cal at home now as well.
Oh, Cal's home
Cal
too
is now at home.
Cal's
So
home.
our next 3 games are home.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's what I said earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's
I'd
do
love
it.
that. Yeah, that'd be great.
I appreciate it, Professor. Thanks again.
Awesome. My pleasure.